Hey guys, this video is for our key signatures lesson in Google Classroom. This is for anyone who missed it when we went over it during class, or anyone who needs a refresher on key signatures and how they work. So it starts off with our main slide, key signatures, and it gives you many different examples of what a key signature can look like. You can have a key signature. You can have a key signature like this one, which has no sharps, no flats. You can have one like this, which has one flat. You can have one like this, which has two sharps. You can have four flats, three sharps, two flats. There are many different key signatures. Now, whenever we're talking about key signatures, it's important to notice that you will never have a key signature that has sharps and flats at the same time. Now, moving on, if we were to go to Google and type in what is a key signature in music, this is the definition that you would get. Key signature in musical notation, the arrangement of sharp or flat signs on particular lines and spaces of a musical staff to indicate that the corresponding notes in every octave are to be consistently raised by sharps or lowered by flats from their natural pitches. That's clear as mud, right? What? What does that mean? You may look like this after reading through that definition, and me too. And I know what a key signature is. So let's go more into it. Let's explain it a little bit. Key signatures put the accidentals at the beginning of the line of music. When you were a baby beginner and you started learning notes, you had accidentals in front of each note. For example, if you're a flute, trombone, baritone, tuba, or percussionist, the first note you learned was a B flat, and it had the flat symbol in front of the note. The fourth note you learned was an E flat, and it had the flat symbol in front of the note. Well, now what a key signature does is it takes those accidentals, and instead of putting it in front of each note, they put it at the beginning of the line of music or at the beginning of the song, and it basically sets up rules for what the rest of the song is going to be. Now, in this slide deck here, if you have your pointer selected and you click right here, that is a link to a video. I want you to watch it. It tells you all about accidentals. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about what they went over in the video. So please pause this video, go to the assignment in Google Classroom, and click on this picture right here. And that will take you to the video that's all about accidentals. Now, I'm assuming you did that, and we're going to move on. Now, let's talk about accidentals. What are the accidentals? These are the three accidentals that we have in music. I want you to go to the left-hand side, click on the T, get your text box. You can choose whatever size you want, whatever color you want, and whatever font you want. I'm going to do purple today. I want you to click in the first box, which is under this first symbol. And is I am a blank. What is the name of this symbol? By watching the video that I just asked you to watch, you should know, but the answer is flat. F-L-A-T. I am a flat. And you need to memorize a flat sign lowers the note a half step. And I'll explain that more in just a second. Let's skip this one in the middle for a second. Let's go to the one on the far right. It looks like a hashtag, but please don't ever call it a hashtag in band class. It is a sharp. I am a sharp. And I raise the note a half step. So the flat sign lowers the note a half step. The sharp sign raises the note a half step. And I'll explain what that half step means in a second. But let's talk about this middle symbol first. Now, this middle symbol basically works as a switch hitter. It can either raise or lower a note. But basically, what it does is it cancels out a sharp symbol or a flat symbol that was previously seen in the music. The name of this symbol is a natural. I am a natural. I bring the note back to normal, not flat or sharp. Moving on. Now let's look at the visual we have here. This is what a piano keyboard looks like. And typically, when we're looking at a piano, the white keys are natural. There are some exceptions, but we're not going to talk about them today. The white keys are natural, and you can see the letter names are there. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, so on and so forth. There's no flat, there's no sharp. On a keyboard, the black keys, or the keys that are raised, are going to be where the sharps and the flats live. And you can see here the letter names on each one. And each one has 2 letter names. We're not going to talk about why right now. We'll talk about that later. But that's where your sharps and your flats typically live, is on the black keys. So let's look at an example. So if I'm looking at this letter name right here, that would be B, or I can call that B natural. Now, remember the definition of a flat was it lowers the note by a half step, which means on the keyboard, it goes down the keyboard to the left 1 key. So if I have a B and I put a flat next to it, it lowers the pitch 1 half step and it becomes B flat. Now let's talk about if we have a sharp. If I have F and I raise the pitch a half step, which is what a sharp does, it goes from F up to the next key and it becomes F sharp. So if it's moving to the right on the keyboard, it's going up. If it's moving to the left on the keyboard, the pitches are moving down. Sharps raise the pitch. It goes up a half step. Flats lower the pitch. It goes down a half step. If we want to talk about what a natural does, if we're right here on this key, which is E flat, and we put a natural next to it, it's going to take it to regular E, which in this case is raising the pitch a half step because it has to move from E flat to E. It goes up the keyboard, so it's raising the pitch. If we have C sharp and we want to go from C sharp to regular C, we put a natural in front of it, and you can see that it goes down the keyboard. And that in that example, the natural is making the pitch go down. In this example, from E flat to E, the natural is making the pitch go up. It takes away the flat sign. It takes away the sharp sign. That's why the natural is referred to as our switch hitter in band or music, all music really. Continuing on, let's stop talking about accidentals. Let's focus more on key signatures. Key signatures are setting up rules for sections and sometimes entire songs about what notes to use. So here we have a key signature, and there are 2 symbols in this key signature. They are 2 flat symbols. Remember, you're never going to have a flat and a sharp at the same time in a key signature. So we have 2 flats. So now we have to identify where are those flats. Well, when you're looking at a flat sign, it's going to be right down the middle of the circle. So this flat sign is on line 3. This flat sign, if you go right down the middle of the circle, is in space 4. So then if you read treble clef, what letter name is line 3? B, because every good boy does fine. And then space 4, if you are a treble clef reader, what letter name lives in space 4? E, because the spaces spell face, F-A-C-E. So this key signature is telling us that all B's and all E's are flat forever, for the entire line of music or for the entire song. The only exception would be if they put a natural in front of the note. If there's no natural in front of any of the notes, then all B's are flat, all E's are flat. Moving on, let's talk about key signatures in relation to the game Among Us. You guys are really into that game, so let's relate it to the game. Think about it like this. Key signatures tell us how many notes are the imposter. How many symbols are in the key signature? That's how many imposters you have. If a note just has an accidental in front of it, it's kind of sus. Practice round 1. We have a key signature here for treble clef and here for bass clef. It has 4 flats. So right away, we can use our drawing tool, and I'm going to stick with green because I like it. We're going to use our drawing tool, and right away we can cross out all the sharp dudes and dudettes. There are no sharps in our key signature, so there are not going to be any sharp imposters. Now, that leaves all of these dudes and dudettes on the left. All of the flat imposters are a possibility. Now, let's look at our actual key signature. Whenever we read music, we read left to right. So when we're looking at the symbols in our key signature, we have to look at them left to right as well. So we start off looking at the very first one, that one, or that one. I'm going to undo that so you can see it, but we're starting there. So in treble clef, we're looking at 3rd line. In bass clef, we're looking at 2nd line. What letter name lives on the 3rd line in treble clef and the 2nd line in bass clef? Hopefully you were thinking B. That would be correct. So our first imposter is B flat. Circle the red one. He's getting ejected. Let's continue on reading to the left, reading from the left to the right. So we're looking at that one, the 2nd symbol. In treble clef, it's in the 4th space. In bass clef, it's in the 3rd space. What letter name is that one? Hopefully you were thinking E, because in treble clef, the spaces spell face, F-A-C-E. In bass clef, the spaces are all cows eat grass. 3rd space, also E. So take your drawing tool, circle the E flat dude. He's another imposter. He's getting ejected. Continue reading to the right from the left. Next one is going to be this symbol and this symbol. What space is it in? 2nd space in treble clef, 1st space in bass clef. What letter name lives in that space? A, because F-A-C-E. Spaces spell face. Or bass clef, all cows eat grass. 1st space is A. So A flat is going to be our 3rd imposter. He's getting ejected. Look at the 4th symbol continuing to the right. So now we're looking at this one and this one. Treble clef, 4th line. Bass clef, 3rd line. What letter name lives there? D. Hopefully you were thinking D, because every good boy does fine in treble clef, and good boys do fine always in bass clef. So our 4th and final imposter is going to be D flat. So our imposters, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. That's how you read that key signature. So if you look at a song or a line that has those 4 flats and you don't know how to play D flat on your instrument, then you get your fingering chart out and you look it up. You don't just play regular D because that's what you know. The key signature says all Ds are flat, so you got to look up the D flat. Moving on, let's look at practice round 2. We've got a new key signature. We have sharp symbols in our key signature, so we can take our drawing tool and we can cross out all the flat imposters. There are no flat imposters in this key signature. There is one sharp imposter. Now, when we're looking at sharps, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. When we're looking at sharps, to tell where it's located on the staff, you're going to look right down the center of the box in the middle of the symbol. So this one, that's the line in treble clef, and that's the line in bass clef. So that's what we're looking to identify. So in treble clef, we need to figure out what note lives on the 5th line. In bass clef, what note lives on the 4th line. That's going to be the name of our imposter. What is it? Hopefully you said F. That would be correct because every good boy does fine treble clef or bass clef. Good boys do fine always. Our imposter for this key signature is F sharp. He's getting ejected. Moving on to practice round 3. We have 2 symbols in our key signature. They are flats, so we can take our drawing tool and cross out the sharp imposters. There are no sharps in the key signature. Now we have to look from left to right. So we're going to look at this one first and this one in the bass clef. Always left to right. Third line treble clef, second line bass clef. What letter name is it? Hopefully you said B. If you did, you were correct. The first symbol is B flat. It's telling you all B's are flat. Look at the next symbol, that one and that one. So we're looking at fourth space in treble clef, third space in bass clef. What letter name lives there? Hopefully you said E. E flat is our other imposter. So in this key signature, we have B flat, we have E flat. Circle the B flat, circle the E flat. Make sure you're filling out your paper along with me or your slide on the screen. Moving on to practice round number 4. Now our key signature has sharp symbols, so we can take our drawing tool, cross out all of the flat imposters. There are no flats. And then how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 sharps in this key signature. So there's going to be 4 imposters. Look at the first one, this one, and this one. It's going to be 5th line treble clef, 4th line bass clef. What letter name is that? Hopefully you said F, and that would be correct. F sharp is our first imposter. Look at the next symbol, reading to the right, going to be that one in the treble clef and that one in the bass clef. What letter name is it? 3rd space treble clef, 2nd space bass clef. What letter name lives there? C sharp, because F-A-C-E for the spaces in treble clef, and all cows eat grass for the spaces in bass clef. So far you should have circled F sharp and C sharp. Looking at the next one, continuing to the right. For the treble clef, it's going to be right above the top line. What letter name lives right above F? For bass clef, it's going to be 4th space. What letter name lives in the 4th space? Hopefully your answer was G. G sharp is our 3rd imposter in this key signature. And the last one, that one in treble clef, that one in bass clef. It's going to be 4th line in treble clef, 3rd line in bass clef. What letter name lives there? D. D sharp is our 4th imposter. 4 sharp symbols in the key signature, 4 imposters. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. Moving on to practice round 5. We have sharps in our key signature again. So take your drawing tool, cross out the flat imposters. There are no flats in this key signature. Look at the key signature. Which symbol is first? This one in treble clef, this one in bass clef. 5th line treble clef, 4th line bass clef. That's F sharp. Next symbol, this one in the treble clef, this one in the bass clef. 3rd space treble clef, 2nd space bass clef. Which letter name lives there? C sharp. 2 sharps in our key signature, 2 imposters, F sharp and C sharp. Last practice round, we have flats in our key signature. So take your drawing tool, cross out all of the sharp imposters. No sharps in this key signature. Let's look at the first symbol, the first flat sign. going to be third line treble clef, second line bass clef. What letter name is it? B. All B's are flat. Look at the next symbol, fourth space, treble clef, third space, bass clef. What letter name lives there? E. E flat is our second imposter. And our last imposter, second space, treble clef, first space, bass clef. What letter name lives there? A. A flat is our last imposter. 3 flats in the key signature, 3 imposters, B flat, E flat, and A flat. That is the last of our practice rounds. Make sure your slides look like mine, that you've filled every single one out following the directions. And then you're going to go into Google Classroom and click Turn In on the key signature lesson assignment.